Well, it says it's going. There we go. Yeah, we're live. I'll let a few people get in here. This is the part where I used to play music, but I kept getting blocked on Facebook. And YouTube will do it too, but they never did. Just Facebook did it. They would block me if I played music. And my brother and one of our oldest, bestest buddies made a record last year. I was using that record, which I have, more than enough permission to do, and it still blocked it out. It's still so now I just sit here and talk and wait for people to show up. Sometimes they do in the summertime, and sometimes they don't. But I thought everybody would just be thrilled to death to hear about working on trucks. I know I am.
Uh, yeah, it's my favorite thing to do when I'm not driving it.
Mine too. Just work on them, work on them. I've been working on. I've been having to work around the house all week, and that wears me out. 23 years of clutter. My son came in my family room the other day, and he goes, "Oh, this room has carpet in it."
Yeah.
Yes, it does. It certainly does.
And in most of these spots, it's in new condition.
Yeah, brand new because it's never been walked on. Nobody's ever been on the carpet before.
Yeah.
Well, we got a
I,
few people. I am South River Transport. What up? Let's see.
I treat this the same way my sister treats her house. Like, I've gotten into the habit now where I'm changing out my pillows seasonally, and I've got different throw blankets for the seasons, and it's just an ever going process. I put something on the wall I don't like it, I take it down, try something else. You know, I've had 3 different textured headboards, and I finally found the one I like.
I have a hard time finding pillows because I like the real thin hard ones. That's what the kinds I like. They're hard to find now. Everybody wants to stuff them full of foam, and it's just not. I can't get right on those things.
Yeah.
Doesn't fit right. So anyway, tonight we're talking about working on trucks, which is gonna and Jess and I've been talking for yesterday and today because and I asked her to come on here with me tonight because she is, as we speak, right at this moment, she is nursing a sick truck home, and I thought that was just about the perfect subject to have on here tonight, is because she's got popcorn and Pepsi. What's up, Michelle? That's Michelle Scolari on there.
Michelle.
Michelle,
I
mom.
have I have a piece of Michelle's heart in my quilt here that she made me.
Oh, cool. Well, anyway, we were talking about and so this is gonna bring up the age old subject that we cover all the time. Do you want a new truck with all that emission stuff on there, or do you want an older truck that you can fix? Because uh, now Candace is stuck, and they handed her a $22,000 estimate uh, day before yesterday. So now she's looking at trading in her truck as opposed to doing $22,000 worth of work on it, and it's a pretty new truck. So, I mean, you can have that debate with yourself, but I've been saying for years, the older trucks and Jess drives an FLD with a Detroit 12.7 in it. The older trucks are repairable. And if you need to limp one home to get it fixed in your own shop, instead of paying 20 grand, 22 grand in an outside shop, you stand a lot better chance of doing that. A lot better chance. So, that's the counterpoint that I want to make tonight. That and, can you fix your truck? Do you know enough about it to fix it? Because what happens 12.7 Detroit 6NZ unless roll exactly. you know do, can you get yourself off the side of the road? Let's say the weather's bad, I mean real bad, and I bought that Coronado a couple years ago, and I had to go down to Texas and bring it home, and the motor was shot, and I had to stop like every 80 100 miles and put water in it coming home just to get home. And I'm telling you right now, these new school, new age truck drivers, they ain't moving over. They ain't moving. You'll jump over that motor, 20 times before they'll move and give you an inch. So anyway, just tell them what you got going on. Tell them what you're doing, because that's kind of what we're talking about tonight.
Well, I started losing coolant yesterday out of a hole in the block, and I went to two different shops. They couldn't figure out what it was, and I finally went to a third one. They're like, "Oh, I think it has a plug for it." They called over to one of their other shops and talked to the guy that would have, you know, done the work if it needed work. And he's like, "Oh no, your gaskets are leaking, and you're gonna have to we're gonna have to pull the head off. And as soon as you tell me I'm gonna pull the head off, I'm on the phone with Ricky, and because I want you to tell me exactly what you want me to say to my Uncle Ricky." And he's gonna tell me, "No, that's not what I think it is." Never heard that before, because I think he likes to hear the things that these mechanics come up with about what they think your truck's problem is. Because yeah, they were going to get me over to the other shop, and they were going to pull that head off and start a rebuild on my motor, which I had already had basically almost all the way done this summer anyways. So I when they told me that they were going to pull the head off, all they did was double dare me to drive my truck home. If you're going to threaten me with blowing my motor up, I'm going to do it as close to home as possible. I'm not doing it here in Pennsylvania. You know.
We had another friend early in the summer, and she had a problem up in Ohio, not far from Cincinnati. And she pulled in a shop, and they told her rear end was out. She had to have a rear end, and they quoted her $14,000 to replace a rear end in her truck. And she was frustrated. She was upset. She didn't know anybody. She didn't call me. She didn't call Uncle Ricky. Two uncles sitting there by the phone, didn't even call. She told them to go ahead. And then she called me. I said, just so you know, we could have brought the wrecker up there, picked you up, brought you back here to the shop, replaced the rear end if it really needs it, which, I don't believe it's how I see it. I said, we could have replaced the rear end if it needs it. We could have done everything for about a third or less of what they're charging you. Well, I didn't know that. She spent 14 grand on a $4,000 problem tops.
Yeah, because I think when I had mine done, it came out to like 36 or 3,800.
Yeah.
But I had it done at Ricky's shop.
Yeah.
And then I got down the road, and they tried to sell. I got 100, not even 2 days down the road, and something came loose, and he tried to sell me a whole new rear end again. I was like, nope. I dropped off my load, and I turned around and went right back to Ricky, and they put it back together and made sure it was correct.
Well, the thing is, even it's not, even if it's not me or Ricky or somebody else, we preach this all the time. Please, 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 please make friends with a shop before you go out on the road. Make friends with, somebody that
just have somebody that you trust that's got your best interest at heart. I call Ricky if I can't get a hold of my home mechanic, Dwight, who knows everything about my truck.
Yeah.
He was the last guy to have it open. So if you're going to tell me you're going to take my head off, which he just changed 3 months ago, and start tinkering with his work, I want him to know about it.
Well,
because
even if you don't have an Uncle Ricky or an Uncle Frank or a Dwight, even if you don't have one, get another opinion. Don't, you know what I mean? Don't sit there on the side of the road and let some bonehead convince you that you need $25,000 worth of work when really and truly it's probably a $350 fix. I mean, we just see this every day.
Well, in the 300 miles since I pulled out of there fast as I could, heading towards the house, I stopped to check, and just doing, the things that Ricky's like, okay, do this and drive a little bit and let's see what's happening. So
Yeah.
now instead of just running over and having them start the overhead, or the rebuild that they wanted to do at that shop, we're now rolling towards my house, diagnosing as we go. Okay, so then I'm going to stop again in a little bit and check some other things. And that way, hopefully, by the time I get to my house, we'll have it isolated as to what it could be. And that's more important than that. That's part of knowing your equipment, that's having the tools, that's wanting to get your hands dirty, just being interested. It's more than just driving and holding on to the wheel, like really knowing. I know when my truck is vibrating weird, something's wrong, and then I start trying to narrow it down.
Yeah.
I know where my oil level is based on how my motor sounds. I don't pull my dipstick every time I open the hood unless it sounds different.
Shaggy
I can
Talk,
tell it.
we love Frank and Ricky, and I see this every day. I know. It's every day. It's every day because for some reason, and there's nothing to regulate it. There's nothing to stop them. These towing companies, these roadside repair companies, they can charge you anything they want to. Anything.
Yeah, we had 100-mile tow on Elias's truck, and it was $5,800. And yeah, that I will sit on the side of the road for 3 days waiting for them to come get me before I spend $5,800. That's a whole week's worth of revenue right now that I am not just handing over to somebody when I have a tow dolly at home. And I have good friends that'll hook two trucks together, drag it back, and one will take the truck, one will take the trailer, and I will get my guy to get in there and look at it.
Ricky does it all the time, and we keep a spare sitting around just for that, just in case somebody goes down and we have to go get them. Let's see. I did mine myself in a truck stop in 6 hours. Got a remanufacturer, called an Uber to a shop for the core exchange. Hell of a tip for the driver. Yeah, no shit. Bella, what's up, Bella B? Bella B. Let me see what's
I
happening.
changed my turbo on the side of the road, just north of Houston, doing the same thing. I called an Uber, went down there, and the mechanic that was going to help me put it back on, because he had more tools than I had at that moment, he came up, picked me up from the Freightliner, and we went back up, and 2 hours later, we had it back up, and I was down and running.
Well, that was another thing I want to talk about tonight. Guys out there, guys and gals out there running up and down the road, running up and down the road. Do you carry any tools? Because here's some things I think you need to have. Just basics. Just basics. You need to get one of those airlines that you can hook to your glad hand. You need to get one of those and put it in your side box. Okay? So that you can air up your own tires if you need to. You need to get that. You need to get enough tools. Yeah, perfect.
I'm working on my toolboxes, but continue with your list.
I know. You need to get an airline. Easy thing to do. Hook it up to your glad hand. You can go right out, fill up a tire, save yourself $400.
You can
Chinese.
reprime your motor. You can reprime your reefer unit.
You can re-air up your trailer in case you got an air leak or something. A gasket going out back there. You can air it up and get it off the road. There's a ton of shit you can do with that airline that will save your life. Okay, you need to carry enough tools, just hand tools. You need to carry enough hand tools and a spare alternator. That's the most likely thing to go out. You need to carry a couple of extra belts, a couple extra fan belts. They're super easy to replace. Anybody in the world can get on YouTube and watch how to replace a serpentine belt. It's easy as shit.
Yeah, it's a tensioner. It's literally just push it, pop it on, and let it back out.
One on and go. Last guy I knew of that had somebody come out and do that for him was on I-65 up there at exit 6, Highway 100 in Kentucky. They charged him $400 to come out there and put a serpentine belt on his truck. $400 to do that. Just for that. I mean, even if you're an idiot, it's a 10-minute job. I mean, it's just that easy. But people don't care. And these company drivers these days, and I will tell you right now, credit where credit is due. Most of these mega companies do not want their drivers under the hood. They don't want them to mess with that truck. They don't want them to touch it. If they have a problem, they are to pull over the nearest safe place and call dispatch, and they'll take care of everything. They don't want you touching that truck. But people out here like us, people out here making a living, people that have to pay their own bills and shit like that. Here's what Shaggy said: you'll be out of business, and so many poor people leave trucks behind and get strong armed because of knowledge. That's what we're talking about tonight. That's what we're talking about. You go out there. I see these guys all the time. How much for the truck? Da 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 da. And you say, well, it's this much. Well. How much is the down payment? I already know that guy's flirting with disaster. If he's worried about the down payment, if he's scared to death about the down payment, how's he going to get out there and truck? What's he going to do the first time that truck breaks down? That's what Shaggy's talking about. Michelle says, I carry 2 toolboxes, extra belts, all fluids, and many other things. I was only towed one time in 45 years. Perfect. Half-inch Milwaukee electric impact. Those things are badass. I got one. It's not a Milwaukee. I get my shit at Harbor Freight because it's cheap. And if it quits, I just take it back over there and hand it to them with grease all over it, and they don't give a shit. They give me another brand new one. Anthony Koch, Shaggy says, shared a bunch from your page. Thank you. That's what it's there for. But, that's what I wanted to talk about. And Jess just came in the shop. She called me, this is a couple months ago. She called me up. She said, my truck's losing some power. Not real bad, but it's getting warm. I don't know what's going on. So we got Uncle Ricky in on the deal. And between the three of us, we guessed that it was probably the air-to-air. So she drove it for another week because she was out hauling loads. I'm bragging about you with you sitting right here. She drove it around for another week with it busted.
Yeah.
Haul freight with it, made a couple deliveries and pickups. She said, okay, I finally got one by there. I'll be tomorrow afternoon. Came in there, and sure as shit, her air-to-air was busted. And she had a busted spring. So we did that while we were there too. But I mean,
yeah, no, you're just double daring me or triple dog daring me to keep driving it, because I will. I was really fortunate when I was a company driver. I was at a smaller company, and so I didn't have a lot of the same restrictions that the mega carriers had. My shop foreman knew that when I called in, I was like, Phil, I need you to know I don't want to be here. I got shit to do. And so can you just tell me how to do this, rattle that, tighten this, and turn around, clap my hands, and it's going to get me down the road. And he's like, absolutely. Let's go out and start jiggling this and that. And we would normally figure it out. And it was a lot of times it was so many of these things are like the easiest fix. We were changing our headlights over from the traditional from the halogen to the LED. And our electrician didn't want Matthew to see what he was doing, because it was just a matter of tweaking the plug, because it was like a 3-plug to a 2-plug, whatever he did. And it was a 5-minute thing, but he made it out to be like this ordeal. But Matthew is slick, and he caught exactly what he did, and boom, 6 trucks later, Matthew does the lights for free, and we don't pay $200, for the hour for Javel to do it.
It's crazy what I see people do. I mean, it's insane. And parts are bad enough. I mean, if you need a part, they're expensive enough. But Peterbilt and Freightliner in downtown Nashville, they're up to $200 an hour. Peterbilt's over that now.
Yeah, that is
labor.
That's one of the things that I've learned with truck ownership and cost savings is I still get 2008 hourly pricing from Dwight. 1, because I'm fabulous, but 2, I talk shit. I talk major shit to all the other guys that come in there whining to him. I'm like, no. You don't get to talk. He's working for me right now. So unless you want to pull out your checkbook while he's working on my truck to start paying him for his knowledge while he's working on my truck, And I fight with the other drivers to get him to stay focused on my truck, because that's what you have to do in Atlanta, is keep them focused on your truck, because somebody else is going to come steal them away.
Yeah.
But I still get cheaper hourly rate for my labor, is because Dwight, I pull in and I say, okay, this is what I'm think is going on. He takes like 20 minutes and he figures out what the problem is, and then he gives me a list of parts. And all I do is spend a day, sometimes 3, driving around Atlanta getting all the parts I need, instead of him doing it $150 an hour. Now all he has to do when I get all those parts collected is he plugs and plays and he knocks it out and I'm gone.
Kevin says
Yeah.
local Freightliner is 1 week out just to get it looked at. See, that's the thing about breaking down. That there's a lot of things about it, but the thing is, breaking down, having a problem, getting a repair, that's one thing. That's expensive. That could really bust your ass. The time you lose not generating any revenue is the killer. How long, if you're down for, in Freightliner's case, what Kevin's talking about, if you're down for a week before you even get a diagnostic, and then it's another week to repair it, how long is it going to take you to make up that, I don't know what you're making, 12, 15 grand? How long does it take you to get that back? I mean, that's what really kills you. Your bills keep going. Your truck payment, your insurance, all that shit, that keeps going, while you're sitting there waiting on somebody to finally come in there and say, yeah, we'll get to your truck tomorrow. I mean, breaking down's a killer. That's why I wanted to have this conversation. I think, we make a big, big, big deal about, on this page, if you're going to be an owner operator, if you're going to be a company owner, if you're going to own trucks and run them, you better have a relationship with the shop, just as 2 or 3. I have a bunch. I got a bunch of people on my phone, used to be on my old Rolodex, that I can call
Yeah.
and get work done in Albuquerque. I can get work done in, Tucson, wherever I need to get work done. Time is money. Every day you could lose, take a month to get the money back, maybe 2. That's correct.
Yeah. I don't, I am going to stay with this truck probably until somebody pries my cold, lifeless hands out of it. Because I would rather stay with the devil I know than to go with the angel I don't know.
Well,
I know everything that's been done and everything, and I know there's guys that have done the work for me, and they know this truck inside and out. Ricky and Dwight, I could call either one of them at any time, and they're going to be like, I know your truck, and so this is what we've done before, so let's look at this, instead of trying to figure it, we figure it out while I'm still driving it. I'm not stopped trying to figure out. We're figuring it out while I'm still moving.
Yeah.
And, I don't have a truck and I don't have a trailer payment. So that right there means that I don't have to work as hard to stay in the black if I do have to take a little bit of time off to get fixed.
That's another story for another time, but you're 100% right. But if you want to get to that point where you don't have truck and trailer payments, throwing away your money on roadside mechanics is not the way to do it. We had a guy, right out on Interstate 65 one night that we sold a truck to about 6 or 7 months ago. And he called us up and he said, I'm out here, I'm on Interstate 65, I got a problem, my truck won't move, my driver's out there, can you go help him out? We went out there, like at 8 o'clock at night. Jake went out there in the service truck, and he had called a roadside mechanic. They came out there, told him they couldn't help him, it was probably an injector, and there was nothing they could do about it. He'd just have to call somebody that charged him $400 to tell him that. Jake went out there, and it was a break in an airline on the frame near the fifth wheel, and Jake took a quick connect, stuck it in there, heated it up, fired the truck up, and left. 10-minute deal, cost him $5. So that's what you run into out there. You run into these guys that don't know what they're doing. They don't have a clue what they're doing. And even when they do, their first inclination, is just to start replacing parts, replace parts, start replacing shit until they finally get lucky and trip over the thing that's bad. And that's what they do.
I like the Band-Aid on the bullet hole better. I'm going to patch what I have. I mean, I've got every kind of tape and glue that I can put my hands on, you know,
Mara,
just
what's up? Mara's out there. She's been following Taylor Swift around. She don't even know it. She's been following her around for weeks. She don't even know it. She was at Arrowhead Stadium today, and Sunday. I don't know if you know this, Mara. I don't even know if you know this. Sunday, uh, Kelsey called. He put up a post on social media to address it to Taylor Swift, and he said, "I came over here at Arrowhead and watch you rock the stadium. How about Sunday you come over here and watch me rock it?" Well, she showed up. She showed up. Travis Kelsey, she showed up, and she sat up in the wives booth with Travis Kelsey's mother, and she was jumping around and chest pumping and fist pumping and jumping all over the place and having big fun. And then after the game was over, which they won, so she was happy about it, her and Travis Kelsey left the stadium together in a drop top 1969 Chevrolet Chevelle. Love is in the air, baby. Love is in the air.
can't wait to hear the song Taylor writes about it.
Oh yeah, when they break up, when she dumps her, that'll be good. That'll be good. I mean, these poor guys. Frank went out to L.A. He took his girlfriend and went out to L.A. and he said, "Dad, I'm gonna go for it. I never did this before." He said, "I'm gonna stay at the Chateau Marmont," and he did. And the first morning they were there, they were getting up. He went down, got a little breakfast and stuff. Went out, and in the parking lot, he ran into Jake Gyllenhaal, and he said, "There I am in the parking lot." He said, "There's Jake Gyllenhaal," and he said, "Dude, the only thing I could think of to say to him was, 'What happened with you and Taylor Swift, man?'" He said, "So I didn't say nothing. I just got in the car and left. We waved, and that was that." And he ran into Will Smith's son in the elevator. I can't think of his name. I said, "Well, did you speak to him?" He said, "Well, of course I did." And I said, "What did you say to him?" He said, "I told him, I said, hey, little motherfucker, push number 2." I said, "That's it? That's what you said to him?" He goes, "Yeah, I don't know that guy." So I'm for that realization. Hey, everyone, how do you find good mechanics over the road? Let's see. The baby's
Shit, just pure luck.
No, we got
Um,
that's Nicole Sessions. I will tell you. I will tell you. It's it's not gonna be it's not gonna be at a dealership. It's not gonna be
no,
at a truck stop unless you go in there and you get really lucky. Some of these truck stops, some of the local mechanics will be at word of mouth. Everybody's saying that word of mouth, word of mouth. Perfect way to do it. But some of these local guys will put their card up on the bulletin board at the truck stop, and once in a while, if a guy's got a business card and he's been around for a couple of years, most of the time, those guys are pretty serious and they're pretty good, and they won't kill you.
I
Uh,
pull up the Google reviews. I Google in that area, heavy truck service, and then I pull up the reviews and read those. Um, and then, I mean, if you're anywhere in Texas, I mean, any little Mexican guy, they're gonna do it right. They're gonna do it quick, and they're gonna get out of there. We've got
yeah,
a and just over time, you develop over time, and so you have to have a list of people to call that can say, "Hey, I'm in this area. Do you know a mechanic in this area?" That's the biggest thing. You look at Matthew and Elias and me, even you know, um, in our phone, it's a name, the city, and then it says mechanic.
yeah,
It's somebody that we've called out that showed up, and a lot of times it's not the first guy we called. It's we called a guy, they came out and they're like, "We really can't help you, but here's so and so's number. They will be the one to be able to fix this." And then that guy comes out.
and he said, "What's up, gang? What's up, Eddie?" And Shaggy saying, Eddie, Eddie is a mechanic, or he calls Frank. We have a network. Jess is in our little club. Mara is in our club. Candace is in our club. People that have been to Ricky's shop and get shit done and get in and out, in and out. We have our own little gang that we look out for each other. We take it when it comes to I had all my airbags replaced by a Mexican guy in Dallas, cheap too.
Hell
Those
yeah.
guys, yeah,
I did a TikTok about going to buy new tires at the old Chevron, and it was just a line of guys with their pickup truck and a trailer full of tires, and you just went tire to tire till you found the one you wanted.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
But
And then there's the other guy with the welder and the other guy doing the. I mean, they all have their little specialty,
it
you
depends on
know.
where you run and what you do. That's another reason. This is one of the things we talk about on here all the time. That's another reason you want to set up lanes and kind of sort of stay in the same lanes as much as you can, because you find out who can work on your truck. You find out where to eat. You find out where to sleep. You find out where to get fuel. All those things are important. All those things cost money. And when if you stay in the same lanes pretty much all the time, in the same geographic area, in Shaggy's little circle, and Shaggy says especially now, yeah, I mean, if you stay in that area, in that geographic area, and get to know people and network, that's how you do it. Now, if you're somebody that's just running all over the country, it's a hell of a lot harder, to find people to work on your truck. A hell of a lot harder, to find everything. Everything is harder if you just run all over the place all the time. So that's what I've always, my whole career, that's what I like to do is I like to go out and come back, go out and come back. And I know who I'm dealing with. I know who I'm talking to. First time I ever met Jess, that's first time I ever met Jess. You're screwed because you get stuck everywhere. Yeah. First time I ever met Jess, we were talking a day or two before, and I said, "Well, I'm going to Minnesota." She said, "Well, I'm going to Wisconsin." I said, "Okay, well, maybe I'll see you out there." And I pulled in the rest area over in the edge of Illinois, and woke up the next morning, go in, wash my face, do all that stuff, come back out, get in my truck. I'm starting to head out. I think it was Sunday morning. Pretty sure it was Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And I was pulling out of the rest area, and I looked over, and there's Jess's truck, but the curtains were still, drawn.
That nothing's creepier than having somebody text you at like 7:30 in the morning a picture of your truck.
I took a picture.
Only slightly creepy.
I took a picture of her truck and texted it to her just to see if she was awake. And she instantly replied back, "Where are you?" I said, "Look at the picture." And she looked up and said, "Oh, shit, that's kind of creepy." And I said, "Oh, I'm not going to tell you what I've been doing. But yeah, let's go eat breakfast." So anyway, network. As Shaggy say, the most and best mechanic are not on the website. You have to network. Back in the day, and I know it's not back in the day anymore. I catch y'all every time I say it. But back in the day, we had a little notebook and we knew people from coast to coast that we called and trusted. Back in the day, you had to do it. There was no internet. You couldn't Google it. You couldn't do a search. You had to know somebody. You had to be able to, pick up the phone and call somebody and get them to come and help you. More than that, I interviewed for a job one time, and the year was 1981. I interviewed for that job, and the guy, when I came to go out on the first time in one of his trucks, he wanted to see my toolbox. Yep. He wanted to see my toolbox. "What kind of tools you carry?" I said, "Well, I carry these." "Well, mind if I take a look?" I said, "No, go ahead." He looked at it and he goes, "Okay, you can go." But, it used to be that way. It used to be you depended on yourself. And I'm going to tell you, if you get stuck on the side of the road somewhere and it's 15 below zero, you want to know some things about your truck because it'll kill you. But, we can't sit here. I can't sit here. Jess can't sit here. Anthony, Shaggy, Koch, Eddie, Dion, those guys, we can't sit here and teach you enough about the mechanics of your truck to get you off the side of the road, just on a podcast. But you need to learn about it. And if you tune in to me and you tune in to Shaggy, on Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights, we talk about it all the time. And if you got me and you got Ricky and you got Dwight and, and these guys in your back pocket that you can get on the phone, Ricky can almost always talk you off the side of the road, just damn near all the time. All the time.
Unless you've jettisoned your drive line, and then he'll send Jacob.
Then you send Jake. My old man kissed me because he says I know someone in every state, and I pretty much do. There is nothing wrong with that. You used to be you had to.
My biggest tip for just developing your network is and knowledge of your truck is, and I've done this from day one because this is what my uncle told me I needed to do. It was every time you have a service call out or a mechanic do anything on your truck, ask them what caused that, how to do it. If you can watch, like literally study what they're doing, pay attention to what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like pump them for information. I've learned more about how to manipulate my truck and how to drive my truck and take care of my truck from every mechanic. They just add to my bank of knowledge. You know, every time I've ever had any kind of interaction, like, why did this happen? You know, how can I prevent it? And then you start to recognize if something is starting to go wrong again.
See, we got Dennis now on here. Good evening, Dennis. We got Sparky Anderson. Sparky's another guy. He's a guy. If I'm having trouble, if I have some trouble and I can't figure it out, he's the guy that I call. If I can't get Ricky or somebody else on the phone, and I mean, I've called Sparky late at night and woke his ass up. And he ain't always happy, but he will get your ass off the side of the road. That's what we do. You know, when I talk about, you know, networking and forming partnerships and making friends and helping each other, I say that at the end of every podcast. Help somebody. That we're all we got. That's what I'm talking about. I know that I can call somebody to get me off the side of the road. If I can't figure it out, they will. And
I am not afraid to drive my truck home.
I'm not either.
I'm also not afraid to sit on the side of the road for 3 days in case I got to wait for my home guys to come get me.
It's a lot cheaper.
You know?
It's a lot
Yeah,
cheaper.
because I mean, they told me today that if I drove my truck home and didn't do the overhaul that we figured out 300 miles later that I don't need,
Yeah.
they were trying to scare me with you're going to end up blowing up your motor. Yeah, double dare me, because I got 2 more Detroits just like this sitting at home with less than 300,000 miles on them each that are just sitting there. So, you know, I could always plug and play if I need to. But, I mean, I literally am not scared of blowing up my motor because, you know, I've learned that 10 times out of 10, what the mechanic tells me as soon as they tell me that they're going to have to take my head off, yeah, no, you don't know what you're talking about.
Going on.
Yeah.
Networking other drivers too, old school trucking in the house. That's the way it is with us guys. Not the mega trucks. I get it. We're not in that world. We're not part of that world. You know, but in our world, owner operators, you know, small companies, you know, guys that rely on each other, guys like Eddie, guys like Jess, guys like Ricky, you know, people like that. Network your ass off. And never forget who helps you, because you might be next.
I joined when I got this truck, I joined a couple of Freightliner and FLD specific Facebook groups and old diesel groups and on Facebook. And I just literally just read the comments and the questions and does it apply? Is it something? And I've read stuff, and then it popped up a year later where that same thing sort of starts happening to me. So I now have an idea, and I just follow in groups that are specific to my truck, and they have them for every type of truck, whatever kind of truck you have. There are groups of guys that it's all they deal with, it's all they do, it's all they, you know, they love those trucks. And so if I can, you know, I basically,
because when you get on social media, there's so many assholes and trolls. I mean, God, you know, there's just assholes and trolls everywhere. But
I'm not talking about the entertainment group. I'm talking about the mechanics type group, like the collectors. Like I'm in a group for collectors of the Freightliner FLDs. So these guys, they're building and restoring, and, you know, this is all they do is hang out and talk about my specific truck.
Yeah,
and I just follow along.
You can share it on my YouTube page, which is Frank G Trucks. That's my YouTube page. Or you can go to my other page, not the group, which is Truck G3 Truck Talk and Marketing. You can share from either one of those places. You're welcome to do that. But it's on YouTube under Frank G Trucks. That's my YouTube channel. You know, it's not, in honest to God, you know, seriously, it's not rocket science. I mean, you don't have to know how to build, a nuclear reactor in the basement to get that truck to just at least to get it off the side of the road. But you need to carry a few tools. You need to carry a spare alternator. I always carry a spare turbo. You don't ever know, and I carry enough tools to change those things. I carry enough stuff to get my ass off the side of the road because I'm like Jess. Once I get off the side of the road, all bets are off. I'm probably going home. If
Yeah.
I can patch it up, we had a guy come in from Amarillo one night, had his alternator hung on there with a coat hanger. I love that
Do you
guy.
know? Do
I
you
love
know how long I can go with my alternator going bad before I have to change it out? As long as I don't run my air conditioning, my lights, or anything that needs electrical, I can go 28 hours. How do I know this? Because that's about when it gets to almost like it's gonna die.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, as long as I don't run my, heat, which it's not always conducive, but like I literally have delivered my load and my alternator was going bad. Um, and until I got to the point where I'm like, I should probably change this out now. 28 hours. Just don't
I
shut your truck off.
The other thing I carry a little bit of heater hose with me just in case, a little bit, not a lot, maybe 5 or 6 feet rolled up. I carry some extra hose clamps with me. I carry
Yep.
water and oil.
Yep.
Water and oil. I'll carry 3 or 4 gallons of water and 2 gallons of oil. And that's
Yep.
again, that's to get me off the side of the road. That's not necessarily, to go cross country or any of that shit. That's to get me off the side of the road to a place where I can get what I need and get the truck fixed. But you got to network, you got to know people, you got to call people on the phone, find out what you got to find out. Trucker G has people call me all the time. I mean, all the time, and he'll be on the call with us. He'll go, "I'm going to put him through, get him on," and we'll sit there and talk through it. But you just in this day and age with the prices people are charging and some of the shit going on out there, you've got to know your equipment well enough to get off the side of the road. You got to do it. I mean, it's critical. It's a matter like Shaggy was saying. It's a matter of staying in business or going broke for a lot of people, and it's not that hard. It's not that hard. That's my guy that's been working on cars and trucks since I was a little kid saying it, but it's true. It's just not that hard to figure stuff up. What's up, brother?
Even if I can't change the part myself, just having the part makes all the difference in the world because I then am showing up and like, here's my alternator, put it on. Well, it could be, no, just put this on. I'll deal with it if it's not that, but all I need you to do is put it on,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I carry enough tools with me to change an alternator. I've got enough tools if I need to. I can hang another turbo on it. I've got enough tools if I need to stop a leak or replace a hose or part of a hose if I need to. I can get off the side of the road, and if I can do that, I can pretty much get home. Unless it's something really weird, I'll get that truck home. I'll get it home.
I had a clamp pop and it was off the exhaust and I climbed up and I wrestled it back on and gotten it tightened back on. And then I walk into the Petro to clean up because I was now a greasy mess or dirty mess. And I had a guy was like, "Was that you that was fixing your truck?" And I was like, "Yep." And he goes, "Man, I need to get me a woman like you." And I was like, "Well, if you're expecting me to fix your truck, I don't need a man like you." I got high-fived by the girls behind the counter, and he just stood there like, yeah,
Yeah, thanks, buddy. I already got that job.
yeah,
Now I
no,
want to do that job and raise your ass. Nah, I'm gonna have to
no,
pass on that. No.
no. And that's what, I have a mechanic that is always like, "When are you going to let me take you out to dinner?" And I'm like, "When are you going to get my truck in your shop?" He's like, "Oh, I don't have time for that." It's like, if you don't have time for my truck, then you don't have time to take me to dinner.
Pretty easy. Pretty easy.
Yeah.
I blew many years ago. I was driving a truck with a 6 and 4 transmission in it, and I was coming into Albuquerque. I was coming west to east, and I was coming down the mountain, coming into Albuquerque, and I blew the shit out of my secondary box, and I felt it. It clanked and hit, and I knew I was done. So I just coasted on down, put it out of gear, coasted on down the mountain, and I was there. The only reason I was there so long, this was many years ago, was because they had to order parts from Denver to fix my transmission. So they had my transmission, but it was a guy. I called a guy in Indianapolis. I said, I blew a secondary transmission. I'm in, Albuquerque. And he goes, hold on. Okay, call this guy. His name's Fred. He's a great guy. He'll take good care of you. That was it.
Yeah.
I went to Fred's. I was there for 5 days because we had to order parts in the motel I was staying at. The little guy and his wife were retired people on the motel, and they had a little Toyota van. And at night, I drove that van over to the roadway freight yard and picked up the drivers and brought them back to the motel. That was my job for 5 days because I didn't have anything to do. I was just sitting there,
Yeah.
But he got my transmission rebuilt. But I'm like you. I stood there and watched him. I watched him. And I'm not saying I can overhaul a transmission, but I can get closer to it than I used to. I have an
Yeah.
alternator in my side box along with the tools to change it. Carry 20 feet of heater hoses along with other hoses, starter, etc. It'll save your ass. It will. It'll just save your ass. And it's common sense. Really, it is. It's just common sense.
I've learned that if you got airbag, you can drop a dime in there to cap it off if you need to disable it, put the hose back so you can't even tell that it's been disabled and get that home. I mean, there's all kinds of things that I've learned how to do. And it's just because I want to know. Like I want to be able to. I think there's a different level when you're a girl out here that they don't expect you to know what you're talking about. Because when I deal with a lot of mechanics, I sometimes have to get Ricky or Frank on the phone and be like, no, that's not right. Or Matthew, somebody on the phone to be like, no, she's right. You're talking out your ass. But they see me coming in my pink hoodie and my ponytail, and I don't have grease on these jeans yet. So yeah, we're gonna talk her into rebuilding her motor.
It's sad but true. I think
Yeah.
you're right. Because that friend
Which
I was
is
talking about that got screwed on that rear end, she's a little tiny girl, and she gets it coming and going.
Yep.
Anytime she has a hiccup, somebody's always standing in line wanting to take her money. And I mean, like I said, they're not. Where's your tutu? Oh, Michelle Scolari wants to know where's your tutu.
It doesn't fit me anymore. I have lost so many pant sizes in the last year that it doesn't fit. So I actually have the tool, and I'm going to turn my safety vest that's too big on me now into a tutu.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Michelle, since you brought it up, where's your tutu? We're going to need pictures. Yeah, you. We're going to need some pictures to verify that you still have your tutu. I mean, turnabout and all that. Anyway, you got to know how to work on your truck. You got to know how to get it off the side of the road, at least to get yourself to safety. That's the main thing. And if you can do that, there's a strong chance you can get all the way home. If you can get that far, there's a strong chance you can get all the way home. So
it's that tough girl it's really empowering. I had called my mechanic. My flex pipe on High School Sweetheart, which is a different truck we have, broke, and it just split right at one of the flex points. And I asked my mechanic, I was like, do I have to change this right now? Is something can I just put a Band-Aid on it? And he goes, no, you have to change, I'm like, no. And I was stopped at a Freightliner, and it was loud because of course it was broken. So when I slowed down, it's like, whoa! It sounded awesome for a minute, but I got another clamp, and I just put the clamp right in the middle, instead of on the end of it. And I drove that for about 4 months before Elias is like, hey, maybe we should fix your flex pipe, you know? Like, it's holding. And Elias and I actually, we tend to do that. We shouldn't. We should get it home and, when we can, and fix it. But he and I are both known to, well, I mean, it's still holding. So, we're just going to keep driving it.
That's the thing, guys and girls. Get an older truck that you can work on. I wish everybody could hear me now. Don't buy these trucks with all this emission stuff. I saw another thing too. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration announced yesterday that they want to set the speed limiters in 2025 to 68 miles an hour. There are a couple other things that they want to implement too. One was hiring standards. One was parking. One was broker transparency, because enough people cried about that because they were too stupid to manage their own business. There were a couple other things there, but the main thing that their main thing to make us all safer was they want to regulate any truck that is newer than 2004. That's where they're drawing the line. Newer than 2004, any truck newer than that has to be regulated at 68 miles an hour. Yet another reason, if ELDs weren't enough for you, Shaggy's laughing now, broker transparency. Yeah, right. If ELDs weren't enough for you, if all that, if emissions, all this emissions, fuck California. If all this emission shit wasn't enough for you, now if you drive a newer truck, they want to limit your speed to 68 miles an hour. Get an FLD or a Peterbilt or a Kenworth, whatever blows your skirt up, but get a 2000 model, get the motor rebuilt, go through it and bring it to Ricky's or bring it down to Jess's place in Atlanta, get somebody to go through it with a fine tooth comb, get it, sir, and you will make more money and you will be happier and you will be able to keep up with Frank and Jess real late at night.
Yeah. Yeah, so I do have a governor on my truck because Dwight said in order for my cruise to work, I did need to have cruise control set with a governor. So on my foot pedal, it's wide open, and he's got me governed at 93 on cruise. So, but I also have a 95 truck. So,
well, yeah, but you also have your motor's set at 430, 470 from the factory, and it's 430 on the pedal, 470 on cruise.
Yeah.
Anthony's, yeah, I'm calling him Anthony because that's what I call him on the phone. Shaggy's talking about ELDs now. Everybody has a European guy on speed dial to fix their ELD. Shaggy has been hanging out and working with and doing business with Eddie Dion. Okay. And Eddie's up in the northern white country up there. And Eddie knows where to get his tires now. He knows where to get his parts now. As long as he keeps buying trucks from Uncle Frank, we're okay. But he knows where
I think my last set of tires fell off a truck.
Yeah.
Somebody's truck. I'm not 100% sure that transaction was legal, but I mean, I saved a couple hundred.
2 containers of tires from China, and these are Chinese drive tires. They're $470 bucks a piece for Chinese drive tires. That's double what I was paying 3 years ago. Double.
Yeah.
Double. Shaggy said he'd been dispatching like a biatch.
Yeah.
Gee whiz. One of these days, Shaggy, you might grow up and become like a dispatch service or some bullshit like that. I sold him to a Spanish guy that sold him from you. Okay. All right, guys. We've been here for an hour, and that's long enough. Fix your truck. Learn how to fix it. If you want me to do some more videos on it, I will. You want Jess to jump in and help us, she will. I mean, if it comes to a 12.7, nope, just Eddie. If it comes to a 12.7, Detroit, we can talk you off the road. Rick can talk you off the road. Caterpillars, we can talk you off the road. Cummins, we can talk you off the road. We can get you out of your mess. We can get you out of your jam. So tune into the group, share the group around, tell people that, that we're here, and we'll help you out if we can. That's all we can do. It's Tuesday night. I want everybody, you need to do a video showing motor and maintenance live. Oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
I can follow Jess home and show you how to rebuild one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Just
looks like she
just
might.
follow my TikTok because all it is vacation videos interspersed with me fixing my truck videos or my mechanics working on it. But
Michelle
I
said
like
it's
to
good for a
know,
good night. Jess, don't forget where I live and come by before the snow.
yeah, no, it'll be in the spring for sure. It's already too late for me to go that way.
I didn't see Deb Dingo tonight. She's usually on here on Tuesday night. She must be working or not. Anyway, guys, thanks for coming by. Thanks for hanging out with me and Jess tonight. We'll be back next Tuesday night with some other wonderful thing that we just are sure you need to know from us. Whatever it
Yeah.
is. Tuesday night. Have a great week. Take good care of each other. Jess, say good night to the kids.
Good night, all.
Good night, guys. Have a great week.